Well, what do you know? The Combine is less than a week away, and I'm just going to cut right to the chase. Holy moly, I'm going to be live at the Combine for U Stadium, and that is so cool. I'm Zapp Berman alongside Splash. He'll be there with me.
Yes, sir.
And, well, this is the first – there wasn't a Combine last year. Of course, 2020, they got the Combine in right before you-know-what hit the fan. So this is really the first Combine in 2 years.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped. This is like kind of almost like I can't put it into words, but kind of, you know how like there's casual fans and then there's like deeper fans. Casual fans might care about pro days because they watch the quarterbacks throw, right? Or they care about the draft. But the Combine is that step further. It's that difference between, oh, this guy, I watched him in Alabama, Georgia in the national championship game. He had a great game there, word to Christian Harris. But when you go to the Combine and you see all of these incredible athletes on display, it's
there
together.
Something
Special.
It's going to be the only time you ever see all these guys in the same room at once. That room just so happens to be the 60-something thousand seat Lucas Oil Stadium. By the way, phenomenal venue if you've ever been. Colts games are pretty underrated in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I agree. And you always get good quarterback play for the Colts other than this year with Wentz. So you always watch a good game. And the teams are generally competitive too. So that's fun. And it's been a good experience. Of course, RCA Dome, old Combines, old Colts teams, a lot of the Peyton years, they move over to Lucas Oil. Your Giants won a Super Bowl at Lucas Oil too. So I'm sure you have fun.
We won the last Super Bowl at Lucas Oil.
Yes, you did.
So before we get into the nitty gritty, I mean, I'm excited to get back to Indy. I know I'm getting in the night before you. And first thing that comes to mind with Indy, St. Elmo's Steakhouse, which is the place to go if you want to catch. Whereas in Mobile, there's a bunch of bars that everybody just kind of knows about. In Indy, it's St. Elmo's and it's everybody else. If you want to watch Bill Belichick talking to Mac Jones over a shrimp cocktail, that's where you want to go.
Okay. I'm down. You know,
I do mess with some shrimp cocktail, and it's the best shrimp cocktail in the world.
All right. That's a bold statement. I'm ready for it.
I'm telling you, you got to look it up. St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail. They take the shrimp and they put this spicy cocktail. It's the spiciest freaking cocktail sauce on the planet. It blows your head off. It will, if you have a cold, if you have allergies, it'll clear you right up. But it's so good. Okay, on to
why we're here.
On to actually why we're here. Scouting Combine. We're going to begin with quarterbacks. Cole Strange masterclass incoming only because I like it. I saw him in Mobile. He's good. He's got a lot of potential. Let me just preface this. I was at the Senior Bowl. I saw a lot of this front and center. I was only actually got to witness one day of workouts and the game itself because I got rained out on Thursday. The only thing that happened to me Thursday, and I have not gone public about it, I did run into Mike Tomlin at Starbucks. So it was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know what coach I would want to meet because, like, obviously, it'd be cool to meet some of the Ravens staff, but I mean, any coach would be cool. Like when I met Robert Alford at a camp a few years ago, like that was cool, and I didn't even know who he was heading into the camp.
All right, quick before we begin with the players, name the 5 head coaches that will not be participating in podiums.
Oh boy.
Combine.
Oh wait, it's like 4 really good coaches and Matt Rule, right? It's Harbaugh, it's Tomlin, Belichick.
Yep.
Reed.
No, Andy Reid's participating.
Okay, Rule is 4, and Shanahan.
Yes, it's Shanahan.
All right.
Everybody else will be there.
5 out of 6. I'll take it.
Now so you fly in Wednesday. And
early Thursday morning.
Yep. I get in Wednesday night. So I'm picking you up at the airport. And we're going straight there because I believe there are still coaches that are going to be speaking on Thursday. Hold on. I got the schedule up. No, there aren't.
Darn.
But I can give you the full schedule, the full rundown of who's going to be speaking when. Tuesday, George Patton of the Broncos, alongside Nathaniel Hackett of the Broncos. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday, Trent Baalke will be speaking, and that will be a lot of fun.
Oh, Lord.
Also at 1 o'clock, or 1:30, Chris Ballard, 1:45, Doug Peterson, Brian Gutekunst at 2 o'clock, Matt LaFleur at 3, Duke Tobin of the Bengals at 3:30. That should be interesting. And for the first time ever, the head coach of the Washington Commanders, Ron Rivera, will also be speaking on Tuesday. Man, some of these are pretty exciting. For you Jets fans, you're going to have to wait until the very end on Wednesday because Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are two of the last to speak. For you Giants fans, excuse me, hold on. Shane speaks 1:30 on Tuesday. Dable speaks at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. And they're both speaking at the same podium. The only guy that's in between is Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff yes, Kingsbury my guy, Cliff.
Shane, if you watch the Senior Bowl footage, are buddy-buddy.
All right.
I had no idea about. Anywho, let's get those quarterbacks up.
Yeah, let's pop it. Nick, make sure you follow Joe Douglas around.
Yeah, I'll be sitting there at St. Elmo's, my shrimp cocktail, my porterhouse. I'll just be watching and do his thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick! Oh my God, he's talking to Derek Stingley. I saw him mouth. I'm gonna draft you at 4.
I don't think. I know there was a push the other day on the app that it was like a player you don't want your team to take, and I think all of Jets fans are like, no Stingley.
Well, but as a Giants fan, no Stingley.
Oof. Wow. Hey, and Daniel Jeremiah just mocked Stingley to my Ravens, so maybe that happens.
If you get Stingley at 14, that's great value. If you pick Stingley top 10, that's a bit of a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. The cornerback talk today. There's one guy I have far and above everybody else. And
we might have the same guy.
I think we do, but I think my CB2 might differ from yours a little bit.
Ooh.
All right, we begin. The pride of Suffolk County, Long Island, Jack Cohn. Where do you see him going? Undrafted.
Day 3, undrafted. Okay. There's quarterbacks are weird because there's a bit of a chasm in the middle of the draft, right? There's not many quarterbacks that go day 2. There's not many quarterbacks that go round 4. They'll be sprinkled in here or there. There's a Locke, a Hurts, Eason, but most of them either go in the first round because they have the potential to be a starter. Think of the 2018 draft with 5 quarterbacks. Think of last year with 5 quarterbacks, etc. Also, thank you, Nick. Jets drafted TP at 4, and I turned the draft off. Wow.
Okay, that's a bold statement.
Bold. I don't love Cohn. Wisconsin, Notre Dame. It's like, okay, you existed like a long-term backup. If he's holding your clipboard for 10 years, I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
Okay.
Nick again. Jets draft an IDL day 1 or day 2. I cry. Oof.
All right, Matt Corral out of Ole Miss. I like him. I like him a lot. We don't know if he's going to participate in the combine because he's still recovering from that ankle injury that he suffered in the Sugar Bowl. Obviously, he's very talented, dual threat guy. I see him potentially being the first quarterback off the board, but there's a team that screams Matt Corral to me. That would be Washington.
Yes, agree. I think there's other. Oh, go ahead.
Dustin Crum, I don't think he's getting drafted, but back to what you were saying on Corral.
Yeah, I think Corral is one of those guys that if you're wanting a quarterback this year, you have to find a guy that you like. That might not be the guy that everyone likes, right? Carson Strong, we'll touch on later. He's a very different quarterback than Matt Corral. So if you want a guy like Strong, you draft Strong. If you want a guy like Corral that can move the ball, that can move around in the pocket, RPO offense, like you're going to draft Matt Corral, or you might draft Malik Willis for a different profile, or draft a Kenny Pickett if you're at Atlanta or New Orleans and you have dome games all year round. But it's really a pick your kind of guy. And I would imagine if we asked 32 general managers, we're going to get 30 different top 5s for these quarterbacks.
In other words, it definitely serves you best this year more than most if you have a smart GM this year.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So in other words, Giants fans, be very thankful that this draft is under the guise of Joe Shane and not Dave Gettleman, because Dave Gettleman would screw this draft up so badly. Okay. Dustin Crum, not much needs to be said.
Right.
Caleb Ellaby, 6th, 7th round. Good quarterback, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But
he and Sky Moore, good connection there.
He did.
Yes.
We'll get to Sky Moore in a bit.
Yes, we will.
Sam Howell, he's Mitch Trubisky all over again. I'm not just saying that because they both went to Carolina. I have a 3rd round grade on Sam Howell.
I think I'm a little bit higher on Howell. He kind of reminds me of a more physical Baker Mayfield. Like if, I don't know, you added Justin Herbert's rushing ability to Baker Mayfield, something like that.
Decision making. However, I thought that Justin Herbert was the second coming of Mitch Trubisky too, and clearly he isn't. So,
oof.
Yeah.
So
3rd
I
round grade on Howell. I didn't like what I saw out of him at the combine, but some people did. Like I said, and like you said, it's very much a
what flavor of quarterback do you want?
Flavor of quarterback you want.
So I do want to touch on Cole Kelly for a little bit. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he transferred from Arkansas, lost the starting job at Arkansas, then originally lost the starting job at Southeastern Louisiana. He's going to be a day 3 guy, but he does have some upside. He can sling it. He's very much like a quarterback we'll touch on a little bit later, Carson Strong, with a really strong arm. So if you're
no pun intended,
if you're looking for a dart throw, I don't know, maybe you take a Cole Kelly in the 6th round. It's better than setting the pick on fire.
Right. Or you could just pick Matt Ariza with it.
You're not
Mitch
wrong.
Trubisky, your week 1 Giants starter. As a Giants fan, I have no problem with that.
Wow.
I have no problem with that. I don't hate defensive backs, especially. I mean, I get it. You're a little bit different because you're a Jets fan and they run a different scheme.
Mm-hmm.
With Wink Martindale coming in,
oh Lord, have mercy on your soul.
I like the idea of going DB.
Okay, I will let you live that life. It's a very let's just put it this way: the Ravens led the NFL in explosive plays allowed last year.
Yeah, you guys also led the NFL in injuries. So
okay, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. All right.
Cool.
Derek King.
He's my Braxton Miller candidate. I see him transitioning out of quarterback.
Okay. So where would you draft him? 4th round, 5th round, a little later, a little earlier?
I could see him as a running back.
Okay. Like a Denard Robinson type?
Yes.
All right.
EJ Perry, I like him.
I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the class. He could be, was he a Boston College transfer?
Yes.
Okay. Because again, you get these Power 5 schools, you get these FBS schools, and they transfer elsewhere. Like Cole Kelly transfers to Southeastern Louisiana. Even Malik Willis transferred from Auburn to Liberty. That's still FBS, but Auburn and Liberty are not the same caliber. EJ Perry from BC to Brown. These guys were highly recruited, had some stock, and now they lose out on a job. And now here they are. This is where you draft them in the 6th round, and they pop in the NFL.
Kenny Pickett, I think he's Daniel Jones 2.0.
Ooh.
He's got flashes. I think he is a 1st round pick.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't see myself, if I were a GM, picking him.
I think that's fair. Like I joked earlier that if you're in a dome, you might want to take Pickett, Atlanta or New Orleans, or if you're Tampa, Carolina, and you play those teams and you play in the South. I think there is some credence to his hand size, and we're going to see in in Indianapolis what it is. If it's 8.5 inches, if it's 8, if it's not, who knows? If it's closer to 9, I think below 9, it's legitimately troublesome. 9 is fine. Joe Burrow has 9-inch hands. There are guys in the NFL that can be successful with smaller hands, but it's almost like an Earl Boykins type or a Muggsy Bogues type in the NBA that being short is one thing, like Isaiah Thomas or Calvin Murphy, Nate Robinson. They can be effective players at 5'9", 5'10", whatever. But if you're shorter than 5'9", 5'10", you are going to have serious problems getting to the NBA. And I think Kenny Pickett's going to might have some of those issues with his hand size he might have some fumbling issues. I think he's not as dense to me as Daniel Jones. Like Daniel Jones just does not sense pressure. Pickett might be tuned the other direction and bail from clean pockets too much and try to run a little bit too much when you're thinking,
now,
hey,
with that
you
being said on Kenny Pickett, he has an attribute that I don't think Daniel Jones had, which is he is very intelligent and he does not throw picks. Kenny Pickett's greatest attribute is his intelligence. Trubisky is better than Daniel Jones. This is something that I am adamant about, and there are Bears fans that I'm close with. I go to school in Missouri. There are a lot of Bears fans that I am friends with. I still think there's a starting quarterback somewhere in Mitch Trubisky. I just think Matt Nagy ruined him.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good. When you watch Trubisky, yes, there's plenty of bad, but realize Matt Nagy sometimes pretends his quarterback can do things that the quarterback really cannot do. So he was, for example, last season, he was asking Fields to play way out of his comfort zone. I think that's a big reason why Fields is going to pop this year is he's going to have an offense that is more in line with what Fields wants to do. It's like, imagine if you put Lamar in the Patrick Mahomes offense. It's not going to work. If he's in his own offense, awesome. MVP season.
Move through the QBs quicker, just a tip. All right, let's go fast. Brock Purdy, he stinks. Okay, next.
Oh, my goodness. Would not draft him before the 6th round.
Okay. My QB1 is Desmond Ritter.
Oh, boy. Okay. Explain yourself.
I watched his intangibles. I watched his workouts the Senior Bowl. I think he is the kind of guy that you sit him for a year, he will be very good. He can make throws from any point in the field. Short range game is good. He specializes in those 15 to 25 yard passes. Those mid-range throws, he puts some really nice touch on them. He's a leader. He knows how to win. I think Desmond Ritter, I think he's going to go in the 2nd or 3rd round. He has Dak Prescott potential. Some guy that gets picked in the middle rounds and just explodes if he's drafted to the right team.
All right. I don't like Ritter as much. I think, to me, Ritter is QB closer to QB5. I agree in terms of like value. He should be early 2nd round, and that's fine. I think there's value in taking a quarterback there. If I'm Detroit, for example, I would not take a quarterback, but I don't think I would fault them if they took Ritter at 32 or if they took him at the top of the 2nd round. The guy that I like more than I think most people is Carson Strong. I think there's a medical red flag with his knee, yes, but if that checks out, there's a solid chance it does check out. As far as I know, the surgery he's undergoing to put like cartilage in his knee or whatever, like a dead cartilage, that is a very successful surgery most of the time. So there's like a 95% chance he's playing. There's a 5% chance. It's very much like a Caleb Farley last year with there's a chance that it's just a catastrophe and it doesn't work, but there's also a chance you get a top tier corner. Yeah, exactly. Or JOK is a heart problem. So I think Strong has tremendous film. You did kind of see it taper off near the end of the season. Like early in the season, he was a gamer. He was making all of the throws. You could possibly imagine he's very almost like a Big Ben type, a little bit less mobile, but kind of that, I'm not going to say statue in the pocket, but like a large presence in the pocket that you're going to have like people draping off of him and he's still going to hit the throw. Like he's not affected by pressure. Like it's almost like a Madden thing. Like, oh, when you're under pressure, the guy throws it in the dirt. Well, when Carson Strong is under pressure, he's delivering dots, very accurate with the ball. And I would say his arm talent is second to only a guy we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I'm high on Carson Strong.
I'm not going to get into Skylar Thompson. He's not good.
He's been at K-State for like 8 years.
Yeah. Malik Willis. From what I watched from him in Mobile, we saw the good and the bad with Malik Willis. To put it bluntly, is Lamar with an arm.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think he has a howitzer of an arm, very kind of like flick of the wristy, like Michael Vick almost. And he's incredibly quick in the pocket. Now he does bail out of clean pockets, but he also played behind an abysmal offensive line.
He did that in the Senior Bowl. He does not know how. And a lot of that is also because this is how Hugh Freeze coaches his quarterbacks. We saw this at Ole Miss. We're seeing it at Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
He can't make any read passes first.
Right.
He sees his first read. If he doesn't like it, he ducks and takes off. And maybe that will work in the college game. I don't know if that works in the pros.
Yeah, very Jalen Hurtsy for you Eagles fans. And there's certainly cons to that approach, but then again, Hurts is a tremendous creator. I think Willis has enough athleticism that he can create, but it's very volatile. It's kind of like 2017 Wentz, that some days it's going to be great, and then some days he turns into a potato and loses you a game. So, and last but not least, Bailey Zapp or Bailey Zappi. I'm going to say Zapp. I've heard people call him Zappy, but
good player.
QB 6. Like right after that, or QB 7, right after that top group, Ritter, Pickett, so on and so forth. But he's better than Ellaby, Crum, Cone, Kelly, etc. So he's like a draftable guy. If you draft him, I don't know, 4th round, early day 3, I think that's not a bad pick. Okay,
running backs. Because it's not an impressive group of quarterbacks. Let's be blunt.
I think there's a lot of guys that might be starters. I don't see 2 superstars. Maybe you get one. Maybe Willis hits. Maybe Ritter, Strong, Howell.
Willis, Ritter, or Strong are the only guys with superstar potential.
I think Corral in the right place could be a superstar.
Corral in Washington could be a superstar.
For sure. All right, let's get into these running backs. Tyler Algier out of BYU. Algier, okay. Tyler Algier out of BYU. We'll talk about him, but that number two player. I know you're particularly close to Mr. Tyler Beatty, so fill us in.
Tyler Beatty freaking rocks. Let me tell you something. A lot of people at the Senior Bowl see him as a tougher Darren Sproles. He projects somewhere in the middle of Darren Sproles and Alvin Kamara. His Senior Bowl tape rocked. He was the leading rusher in the SEC this year. Did so with a bad offensive line, too. You got to remember that. Bad QB play also. He can be a north-south runner. He could also be a huge presence in the passing game like he was for Missouri. I think Tyler Beatty slots in as a potential every down back in the NFL. Look for a team like Miami, somebody that utilizes the downhill run, but also a lot of short passing.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Beatty could fit well in teal and orange.
That could be fun. So there's a lot of running backs. We're not going to touch on every single one. The next guy that pops out to me is James Cook. If you remember the last name, I know a Cook in the NFL. Oh, that's right. His name is Dalvin Cook. So we have the brother of Dalvin Cook here, James Cook. Really talented backfield at Georgia, so he never got the lion's share of the target or lion's share of the rush attempts. So if you're looking for a guy that maybe his college production wasn't all that, but the traits can be there, the NFL production might be there, not much wear on the tires, James Cook is your guy.
One guy that I do want to touch on, Max Borge from Washington State. I've been a fan of him for a while. I'm pretty sure he's been at Wazoo for 15 years.
Yeah.
But the next guy I want to talk about, if you want to talk about somebody that maybe has not shown the full potential of what he can do in college, I don't see him on the list. Can you scroll down just a little bit? Damian Pierce from Florida. This dude is a straight up gamer. He runs like an armored truck. And he's gonna be a problem. He also, I'm gonna say he has every down back potential. Good chunk of SEC backs have really big potential. Isaiah Spiller out of A&M, Brian Robinson. Is he the next Derrick Henry or is he the next Bo Scarborough? Is he something in between? We don't know. Of course, the aforementioned Tyler Beatty, great short yardage guy, Hassan Haskins out of Michigan. You saw so much of that this year. The two names that we really haven't talked about because neither of them were present in the Senior Bowl, Breece Hall out of Iowa State. And, of course, the guy that I think was snubbed from Heisman contention. Oh, my gosh. How in the world am I blanking on his name? This is brutal. Kenneth Walker.
Okay. Oof. Yeah. They call him Kenny Walker on this, I believe.
Kenny Walker out of Michigan State. Zamir White, also a very good running back. I like CJ Verdell out of Oregon, too. Oregon's offense went down the toilet after he got hurt. But who do you think winds up having the biggest potential in this class? Because it is a deep running back class. You should not be drafting a running back in the first round with this class.
Yeah, one guy I do want to touch on is Jarian Ely out of Ole Miss. You mentioned with Beatty that there's that Alvin Kamara potential. I look at Ely and I see that every down back, he can be maybe the first year, second year, he can be a third down back. Year 4, year 5, he can be that take over the game kind of back. He averaged about 6 yards per carry in college. He caught 60 plus catches or had 60 plus catches over his 3 seasons at Ole Miss. And it's a lot of good from him. He had 50 or 65 yards in the Baylor game, had 152 yards against a ranked A&M team, torched Liberty early in this season. I like Ely. I think I'm a little bit higher on him than most. He could be a fun guy, but like you said, don't take any of these guys day one. And chances are the number 1 running back off the board is not going to be the best running back off the board, just because like the value at the position of you're having to pay him more, right? Earlier in the draft. And do you really want to pay your running back? No, you want to get a cheaper guy.
There is not a Saquon Barkley. There is not a Najee Harris. There is not a Travis Etienne in this class. But there are guys that have huge potential. And I think that carries over to wide receiver.
Oh, this wide receiver. Also, Rachaad White out of Arizona State. Fun guy to watch. This wide receiver class is awesome.
I love Treylon Burks. I love him.
Say it with me. Wide receiver 1.
Wide receiver 1, absolutely. If he had better quarterback play, he could have been one of the best college receivers we've seen in forever. Unfortunately, he was stuck at Arkansas.
Arkansas was halfway decent this year for once.
KJ Jefferson did hold him back a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you see? Like, give me a pro comp for Treylon Burks. I see a more athletic Des Bryant.
I like the Andre Johnson comparison, the size, the speed. We're talking like, okay, look, every year we're going to have some ridiculous comps, like Chase Claypool being called Mapletron. Okay. But the body type with Treylon Burks and Andre Johnson matches. They are both under sub 4.4 speed. They are both like 6'3", 215. You're going to get a very scary receiver in Treylon Burks. And out of that group of guys that are built like Burks, built like Andre Johnson, the only guy that didn't hit and become a star at the bare minimum, I would call Chase Claypool like close to a star. Like Chase Claypool is like the median of that group. The one guy that didn't hit was Mizzou legend Dorial Green-Beckham. Yep. And then everyone else is Hall of Famer, Calvin Johnson. Andre Johnson's a future Hall of Famer. Like, it's a loaded group. Treylon Burks is going to be in that group very soon.
Oh, I love that comp. Okay. Couple other names you love. I love Jahan Dobson out of Penn State. He reminds me a lot of a more athletic slot receiver, blanking on his name, Jarvis Landry. And he's got the spectacular catch thing that Landry had down too. Drake London, he's a Mike Evans clone. Don't get it twisted. Your Cooper Kupp candidate is Sky Moore.
Oh, I love me some Sky Moore. Love the name, first of all. You can get some gadgety stuff. So if you're looking in this draft and you want like a Debo Samuel-y kind of guy, Sky Moore is going to be your guy. Also, a guy that I'm going to touch on in a second. Wandel Robinson. He's my draft crush. Man. He is the guy that if you want like a Z receiver in this draft, fasten your seatbelts when you watch Wandel Robinson at Kentucky. Again, it's not like he's not playing with Bryce Young or CJ Stroud here. He's playing at Kentucky. So fun guy to watch. Also, Justin Ross, poor guy. I remember when he was supposed to be the next coming, but
he still might be.
Yeah, he still might be getting mocked to the 5th round, but hey, he might be.
That's all injuries.
That's true.
We know what Justin Ross is capable of. Another guy we know what he's capable of, George Pickens. I think he has superstar potential if he stays healthy.
Yeah, that's a big question with a lot of these guys is health. And, Pickens had the torn ACL, then came back and played a little bit this year. And you just think, well, if he didn't tear his ACL, how great of a season. He probably would have been in that wide receiver 1 conversation, been a top 3 or top 5 guy. Also, last year we had Chris Olave in that conversation, and he came back and had another year and got kind of outshined by Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba.
He's going to be.
Like,
I can't wait to come back to this combine discussion a year from now and watch him.
Yeah. Oh man,
he's a Jamar Chase level prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Can't miss him. Olave, he's a what'd you say? Chris Olave is a smooth operator, does everything well.
Mm-hmm.
Good route runner. In other words, he's Keenan Allen.
Oh, I like that comp a lot. I think he's a guy that if I'm Arizona, obviously I think Arizona should prioritize guard. We'll get to the interior offensive lineman in a little bit, but I wouldn't mind seeing Olave in the red, black, and white of Arizona. I think he would be a great change of pace to DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay, hear me out on one more guy. Who would you compare Garrett Wilson to?
Ooh, Wilson is like a do-it-all kind of guy. Like, we'll get to the tackles later, but I have a do-it-all tackle comparison. But you mentioned Drake London was like Mike Evans, right? You mentioned the Keenan Allen comp for Olave, the Jarvis Landry to
Jahan Dobson.
Dotson. I don't necessarily see a specific comp for Garrett Wilson. He kind of like just takes. He's like a B+ in everything. Like if we did tier lists for everything, he would be a bunch of A's, right? He might not be an S tier like Drake London, like ability to catch the football, like high point the ball. He might not be S tier like creator in space, or S tier at this, or S tier like a Burks is like an athlete, but he checks off every box. He's getting a good report card. He's getting a bunch of A's on his report card, right? He's getting a 3.9 GPA. He's good at everything. So
okay. But one guy that seems to be falling through the cracks a little bit because of his injury, let's talk about, oh my gosh.
Is it Jameson Williams?
Yes, I am not doing well with names today. Jameson Williams, who I think he could have been wide receiver 1 going in had he not torn his ACL.
Agree. Like he looks like you attached a like a jetpack when you watch, and he's a guy that there's a serious conversation that Alabama wins the national championship if he's healthy, if the turf doesn't like crumble under him.
We said that on our stream. We said they win the Natty with Jameson Williams.
Yeah, and he is exceptionally. If you want a game breaker, the closest thing to Tyreek Hill in this draft class is Jameson Williams. And
I see Jameson Williams as like prime Deshaun Jackson.
Ooh, that's fun. That's a guy you take in the first round.
And you know where I see Jameson Williams going?
Please say New Orleans.
I was going to say New England.
Ah, okay. I want him to go to New Orleans. They need Jameis to Jameson, just easy. Just the shirts print themselves. The W's eat themselves. Do it New Orleans. You will win the division.
But he also has the chemistry with Mac. You got to think.
Okay, this is a good point. This is a valid point.
And New England doesn't.
Wait. Wasn't Jameson a Ohio State transfer?
You're right.
Okay.
Still, Belichick likes his Bama guys.
This is true.
All right, let's go a couple small school guys before we move on.
I think we're both thinking Christian Watson. Yes.
Christian Watson.
He's going to be a stud. He is.
Jalen Tolbert.
Everything is 6'5". The local kid for the Senior Bowl, Jalen Tolbert. My guy, Khalil Shakir.
Khalil Shakir was very good. Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati. Not a small school, but still. He's a speedster.
We touched on Sky Moore, gadgety guy, like a Debo, like a Ayuk light sort of deal. I like him.
I like Mechie. I'm higher on Mechie than most.
Mechie. Romeo Dubs is fun. Calvin Murphy. Calvin Austin out of Memphis. He's gonna be a fun guy. He's a day 2, early day 3 guy. He's a lot of fun to watch. There's
David Bell, also very fun to watch.
Oh, I love David Bell. I put him in a couple first rounds in my mocks, but I would say, like the quarterbacks, this is very much a flavor of wide receiver. If you want a guy that's more physical, like I think Drake London would be absolutely perfect in New England. Get Mac like a big body guy to throw to, great in the red zone. Dallas probably wouldn't go
Traylon Burks?
Traylon Burks.
Yeah.
I would take him top 10. I think he's a guy that if Atlanta takes him at 8, if the Jets take him at 10, I'm writing an A next to that pick.
Oh my God! If the Jets take Traylon Burks at 10, that's disgusting. That's absolutely disgusting.
And I'm sure Nick is losing his mind because he wants like all of the edge rushers. Oh boy.
Who's next?
Okay, we have the tight ends.
Deep class here, tight ends.
I don't think I can get all of them. Okay, no, it's just maybe.
All right. Nick's going to comment in 3, 2, 1. Trey McBride's your tight end 1. Next question.
Yeah. Trey McBride is your tight end 1. How early would you draft him?
I would draft him late first round. I think he's a George Kittle, Travis Kelce level player.
Okay. I think you're a little bit higher. He's also my tight end 1. I would not spend a first round pick on a tight end this year. I think he's going to be a very good tight end, but I mentioned with Garrett Wills that he's like an A in a lot of things. I think McBride is the same kind of guy. The problem is I don't know what his trump card is going to be in the NFL. Like he's a really good blocker. He's a good field stretching tight end. He's good in the red zone. He's good at a lot of things, but
what is he?
What's going to put him over the top? Like Travis Kelce is a top 10 route runner in the NFL, not just a tight end anywhere, right? Mark Andrews is, oh man, Mark was so good this year. George Kittle is the best blocking tight end in the NFL. Gronk had that physicality to him, yards after the catch. I don't know what the trump card is with Trey McBride. I think he's a top 50 prospect. I just don't know what his trump card is.
I think Trey McBride is another TJ Hawkinson is what I think he is. Okay. That's my call. Some tight end that's very good at everything, but won't blow your mind at anything.
Okay, that's fair. One guy that I do want to touch on. There are two? Is it Iowa State? There's 2 Iowa State guys, Chase Allen and Charlie Kolar. So if you look at the numbers, they're going to cancel each other out because they were in the same offense. But watch those guys. Watch Jake Ferguson out of Wisconsin. Watch Jeremy Ruckert out of Ohio State. Watch the teams that use their tight end more as blockers and watch what they do as pass catchers, because Jake Ferguson's going to be a good pass blocker. Or run blocker too. Jeremy Ruckert's going to be a good blocker. What do you do in the one-on-one drill? Or what do you do when the ball is in your hands? What do you do getting open on routes? What is your athletic testing? Because we watched on tape, you're good blockers. You can be a solid like number 2, number 3 tight end. What are you going to do when all the cards are down and you have to make the catch on 3rd and 6 to extend the game?
All right, here's a name for you. Here's my tight end 2, Isaiah Likely out of Coastal.
All right. I think it's likely that happens.
Last but not least, the guy that I'm not as high on as some people are, and that is Jalen Weidermeyer out of Texas A&M.
Oh,
I see him as a second coming of Evan Ingram, drops included.
Ouch. Rough. One guy that I do want to touch on before we move on is Cade Otton out of Washington.
Good player.
It's going to be a mid-round pick. Might slip into the 3rd round, 3rd, 4th round, 6'5", 250. He's going to block his tail off. I think he could be an exciting guy to watch. He was on the Mackey Award watch list heading into the season. Missed some time, but I think he could be a fun middle round guy. If Baltimore wants to move on from Nick Boyle, I wouldn't be opposed to going after Cade Otton with one of our 4th round picks. So, all right, let's get into the big hog mileys. It's time. And they're all lumped together. That's annoying.
Okay. Who was your jack of all trades tackle? Was it Evan Neal?
It is Evan Neal. If I had to, so I'm going to lump Cross, Ekwonu, and Neal into this conversation. I'm going to compare them to as far as I'm concerned, the 3 best tackles in the NFL: Trent Williams, Ronnie Stanley, David Bakhtiari. So if you're looking at that, Trent Williams is a dominant run blocker. I think Ikem Ekwonu is that next dominant run blocker. They're good enough in pass protection. Obviously, Trent Williams is a terrific pass blocker. Ekwonu, he has some things to work out, but he has that FU mentality as an offensive lineman that he will drive you into the turf on rundowns. Ronnie Stanley, terrific pure pass blocker. I think that is very much like a Charles Cross. I can see why people want Cross to go number 1 to the Jags. I think he is a starting left tackle caliber pass blocker right now. There's some work he needs to do as a run blocker, but he is I think he's going to enter the NFL as a top 25 pass blocker. And then that jack of all trades, good at both, David Bakhtiari to Evan Neal. Neal is a physically imposing guy. We'll touch on a certain guy that weighs 4,000 Reese's Cups in a minute, but Evan Neal is 6'7", 360. That is, I heard the comp was a cross between Mekhi Becton and Tristan Wirfs.
That's about what Evan Neal is.
He is a large man, and you should not be able to move like that at 6'7", 360.
Give me some names that fall outside. Of course, Tyler Linderbaum, the best center to come out of the draft since Nick Mangold. How high would you take Linderbaum?
Okay. As a Ravens fan, no one take him higher than 13, so we can have him at 14. But I mean, if I was, you're a Giants fan, so
7.
You wouldn't take him at 7?
No.
Okay. Ooh. I wouldn't be opposed to taking him at 7. Jets at 10. Would you be opposed to that?
No, not at all. See, 10 is like a sweet spot in this draft.
Okay. 8, 9. I don't think either. I really like Tyler Hennessy. We'll touch on this in the offseason, but I really like Tyler Hennessy on the Falcons as like a long-term center guy. I think Linderbaum is either prospect 1 or prospect 2 in this draft with Kyle Hamilton. It just sucks that he plays center. It sucks that Hamilton plays safety. We'll touch on Hamilton in a little bit, but I'm excited to see where Linderbaum goes. I'd love him in Baltimore. I don't want him anywhere in the AFC North other than Baltimore. So Baltimore, take him, por favor, if he's available. Who's a guy, maybe a FCS or Group of 5 guy that you're interested in seeing play at compared to the upper level competition?
First guy I want to touch on before we get into those guys, someone that came into this college football season as a potential top 15, top 20 player, and yet for no reason has fallen down draft boards despite how good he's been. That would be Kenyan Green out of A&M. He is a day 1 starter at guard. He's played all 5 positions. He's versatile. He's strong. He's smart. He's consistent. Never missed a start in his 35 games at Texas A&M. I love Kenyan Green. I don't think people are talking about him enough.
Yeah, I agree. I think he and Zion Johnson are 2 absolute plug-and-play guards that they're starting week 1 for every NFL team. Or maybe not every NFL team, but most NFL teams. Like, obviously, Cleveland's not going to start them, but I would say like 30 NFL teams could use one or both of them to plug and play at guard. Green as a nasty streak, like I touched on, that FU mentality. And I like Zion Johnson a lot. He's a Davidson transfer to Boston College, and he didn't play like a Davidson transfer. He played like he was a 5-star Alabama recruit. So I like both of those guys. I would take both of them round 1. Like that 17, like if the Eagles took them, I wouldn't be complaining as an Eagles if I was an Eagles fan.
Okay. 2 I like out of the FCS, Cole Strange out of Chattanooga, and of course, the big, mean, wrecking machine that is Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa.
Now,
God, I love Trevor Penning.
Okay, with Penning, he has that FU mentality, but is it too much? Does he have too high of a motor? He had a lot of penalties at Northern Iowa. He was kind of sloppy in Mobile from what I could see. Obviously, you were there.
Yes,
and
he was.
He had that one weird rep that he like beat up his own teammate. What are you thinking on Penning?
I
Can you
love
like
him.
tone that down?
I feel like the league needs more of that, but then again, that's just me. That's just my flavor. I think Trevor Penning is still a first-round guy.
All right. I've heard people mock him to Baltimore. I think Daniel Jeremiah may have put him in. No, he did Stingley. So Baltimore.
I'm sorry. Jeremiah draft was weird, man.
Oof. Okay, I'll have to look at it in full, but I don't hate it. I might trade down and get Penning. I think that could be a possibility. Maybe move down. I don't know who would want to trade up exactly, but I think it's almost always preferable to trade down rather than trade up. But I think Baltimore is in a prime do either position. What do you think of the Central Michigan pairing with Raymond and Godeker?
I like Raymond more than I like Godeker. I think Raymond could be a potential great tackle in the NFL. Cade Mays out of Tennessee, I don't think he's being talked about enough. Who do I think's being overrated? That would be Nick Pettit-Frere out of Ohio State.
Yeah, I think you see that Ohio State tackle and you think, oh, Orlando Pace. No, he's not Orlando Pace. He's not that good. He's fine, but you kind of scout the helmet a little bit with some of these bigger school guys, and you kind of look over the likes of Max Mitchell. He's going to be a nice tackle or guard.
Max Mitchell will be good.
Like Cole Strange, Tennessee, Chattanooga. Like, come on now, let's be real here. Jamari Salyer, a much higher recruit than he was, or than you would imagine with his draft stock right now. He's a guy that, as far as I can remember, played a lot of guard at in Mobile and was pretty good at it. So I wouldn't be opposed to like taking a flyer on Jamari Salyer a little earlier than the rest of everyone.
Yeah, I like that. I like that comp for Salyer as well. Who else?
I've heard some good things from Zach Tom. He might be like a borderline top 10 tackle.
Let's go out of North Dakota, not North Dakota State. Tyler Smith out of Tulsa. He's being mocked in the first round now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, we have a Fordham representative.
I don't think he was in Mobile either.
I don't recall the name in Mobile. Let's see. Chris Paul, of course, out of Tulsa. Tulsa has two guys that have names that are just famous for other things, not football. Dylan Parham, I think he's going to be a fun player to watch. He can play at either guard. He could be a long-time starter in the NFL. And again, like we mentioned with quarterbacks and wide receivers, sometimes it's a flavor thing, right? Especially with the top tackles. If you want a pass blocker, you are going to go Charles Cross. If you want a mean guy run blocker, you're going to get Ekwonu. If you want the best of both worlds, you'll go get Evan Neal. Now that's why he might be the number one pick. Anyone else you'd like to touch on?
Not really. It's such a deep class and it could go so many ways. I think there's a scenario where all three tackles that we've mentioned, Neal, Ekwonu, Cross, all wind up great.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think all of them, like very much like the Stanley Bakhtiari Williams group I mentioned. Also, Alec Lindstrom, very nice interior guy. Darian Kennard at Kentucky, tackle.
I do like Kennard quite a bit.
We touched on Zion Johnson. We touched on Green, Guteke. Fortner could be fun out of Kentucky as well. The man himself, Daniel Falele, who turns Mekhi Becton into a 7-year-old. He is a large man. Oh, my goodness. Spencer Burford could be fun. He's like a top 10-ish tackle guy. So there's a lot of tackle prospects. If you want to dive in, there's a lot of good film. There's a lot of fun. Start with Trevor Penning though. Then you're going to get some mean pancakes. Yes.
What's next?
All right.
Defensive
Sliding
line
over to the defensive side. Well, let's just get him out of the way. 6'6", 360 pounds. Has one of the meanest get-offs I've ever seen from a guy over like 320. Oh, and he happens to be 360, and he turns grown men into 4-year-olds. Jordan Davis is a large mountain.
He's going to be the most fun workout to watch next week.
He's going to have one of the weirdest web chart spider graph thingies ever. Like just the size, the height, the weight, the speed is going to be higher than what you'd expect from a guy his size. Oh, that's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited to see Jordan Davis go. But I don't think he's the best defensive tackle to come out of Georgia.
I don't disagree with you. And there's an argument he might not be the second one because there is Trayvon Walker, and I am totally blanking.
I have Walker slotted in as an edge.
Okay. So there's Walker. He's on the defensive line list. And then there's, who's the other Georgia guy? Oh, Devonte Wyatt. There is an argument to be had that Trayvon Walker and Devonte Wyatt should be over Jordan Davis. I don't necessarily agree with that argument 100% of the time, but I could see where you're coming from. So
Devonte
think about
Wyatt
that.
Is very good.
Yeah. All three of them could go in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised. There could be, 5 Georgia guys go in the first round?
Potentially.
You get, We'll touch on Dean. We'll touch on Lewis Sign. He could go at the end of the first.
Lewis Sign is my boy.
I like Lewis Sign a lot. Another guy. You liked Perrion Winfrey at the Senior Bowl.
I do like Perrion Winfrey quite a bit.
Cam Thomas. He was a late dropout of the Senior Bowl. Yes, like injury.
He's got a motor that I really happen to like.
Yeah, he's going to be fun watching.
Yes,
the drills for Isaiah Thomas, not that Isaiah Thomas or the other Isaiah Thomas. Maji Sanders, fun guy out of Cincinnati, top 40, top 45 pick.
I like Maji Sanders.
Of course, Kayvon Thibodeaux could go number 1 overall.
Not sure what his future is. Thibodeaux, he's just Jadeveon Clowney, but better.
I think that's a pretty good player. I mean,
but the question with Kayvon is, what is his what is his, like, does he want to stay in the game of football? That's becoming the question.
Okay. I don't think you become as good as you are, as good of a player as Kayvon Thibodeaux is, without caring about football. I
think it's a crock.
Yeah, I think he's going to go in the top 5. He might go 1. If he doesn't go 1, it's not, it's the end of the world. No. That's not how it works. Sometimes, like, the Jags might prioritize taking a tackle. The Lions might prioritize the best player available, Kyle Hamilton, whatever. So I think Thibodeaux is going to go, hopefully he goes where he needs to go, whether that's the Jets and he's on a fun defensive line there, or the Giants and he's on a fun defensive line there and gets to rush the passer better than any Baltimore player has in the last 20 years. I don't know. But I think he doesn't care enough about football. Really? You don't get that good without caring about football. The athletic talent alone can only carry you so far.
I agree. I 100% agree.
Speaking of athletic talent, David Jabo. He is a lot of fun. He played like 30 snaps heading into this season. Plug him in Mike McDonald's defense, and he was a game wrecker across from Aidan Hutchinson.
I got to take that. I feel like some people are not going to like. I think David Ojabo will be better in the NFL than Aidan Hutchinson.
Ooh. Well, when the Ravens draft Ojabo, it will happen. So,
dude, David Ojabo is freaking awesome.
Yes. And he was high school friends with Odafe Owe. So just Baltimore, just send in the draft card if he's there. What do you make of DeMarvin Leal? I've heard a lot of mixed.
He was going to be a top 5 pick at the start of the season. He just didn't have a good campaign. I think DeMarvin Leal could be a very good player, but right now, second rounder.
All right. George Karlaftis, people have kind of cooled off him. He was almost exclusively like Giants pick him at 5, and now might go to Philly in the teens. So where's the...
I would wait and see what happens at the combine.
Okay.
I think George Karlaftis could still be very, very good in the NFL.
Okay, we both love Travis Jones.
Yes, we do.
Small school guy, doesn't play like a small school guy. Logan Hall, same thing. This might be a hot take. I would not be opposed to taking them in the top 40 picks.
Travis Jones?
Like positional value, questionable, but he's a great player. And you flip on the Connecticut Clemson game. Just flip on the Connecticut Clemson game. Travis Jones looks like he should be playing for Clemson, not UConn.
Right. I could see it. I could definitely see it.
Okay. Hutchinson, I think he is like generally the number 1 prospect on most people's boards. He's like the safest guy, but he's also an athletic freak, and he's going to have out of this world testing numbers next week.
Oh, God, I have the most unpopular opinion on Aidan Hutchinson.
Oh boy, let's hear it.
I think the guy's a second coming at Connor Barwin. Come at me.
Didn't Connor Barwin make a Pro Bowl?
Yeah, but he's not. You don't take Connor Barwin second overall.
Well, this is okay. That's fair, but let's see. Yeah, he was a second team All-Pro in 2014. He was a Pro Bowler at 56.5 sacks. Like,
I'd love to be wrong. I don't think
fair.
Hutchinson's. gosh, man.
I think he's a really high floor guy. I think if he's, I don't want to say Pro Bowl caliber every single season because that's a really high floor. That's like Nick Bosa. He's not Bosa. He's not other Bosa. He's not Garrick. He's not Von Miller. I'm not saying that, but I think he can be if he is like I can't think of a really good. I think he's going to be a really good run defender for a decade, and I think his pass rushing, like a Brandon Graham sort of deal. Also, Michigan, so I'm kind of scouting the helmet there, but I think he's going to be a rock solid pass rusher for 8 to 10 years. I think he's going to be a really good run defender. So if he's on like a 12-5 team, he might make some Pro Bowls. If he's on a 4-13 team, like the Lions, he's not going to make any Pro Bowls because no one cares. But when Brandon Graham had some really good years with a good Eagles team, he made a couple Pro Bowls. PFF loved Brandon Graham. I also like watching Brandon Graham. Tons of pressures. I think that's maybe what you get. Brandon Graham, one-time Pro Bowler, second team All-Pro in 2016. So I don't hate the comparison to Brandon Graham, and I think Graham's a good player. I think he's better than. I think he was a first-round pick, but he's 13th pick. He wasn't. And I get what you're saying, but I don't think this draft you can kind of pick and choose. You're going to take Aidan Hutchinson top 5.
Right. I still think you have to take Hutchinson. If you don't take Hutchinson top 5, you're just going to look like a what are you doing kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't think there's I think the bust potential there is pretty low. I think if you're talking bust potential, it's much higher with Thibodeaux, Karlaftis, or Jabo. Hutchinson, I would be shocked if he's out of the league by 2026. Right? I would be if he does not get his 5th-year option extended. I would be shocked. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar, multi-time Pro Bowler, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I'm just saying he is at the very least, I think, going to be an 8-year, 10-year starter.
You'd think so. You'd hope so.
I hope so. I hope he's a lot more. I hope all of these guys are future Pro Bowlers and future All Pros. But I do think Hutchinson at the very least is going to be a rock solid pro, and he's going to be a guy that no matter who is doing the like when you go back and do like mock drafts in retrospect, he's going to be a guy that is always going to find his way in the top 20 picks. He might not be 2 or might not be 1, but he's going to find his way into those top few picks.
I would agree. Who else do you really like out of this class? I happen to like D'Angelo Malone quite a bit out of Western Kentucky.
All right.
Talented player, small school. That's exactly what you want in a 5th, 6th round pick.
All right. Love to hear it. I like Ebikede. He was a Temple transfer, productive at Temple, productive at Penn State. That's always fun to see.
Transfer. How about that?
Kingsley Enigbare. He's fun. Nick Benito was a guy that was a lot higher early in the season, had not a great season. So he's now, as opposed to being a 1st-round guy, he's a 2nd, 3rd, maybe a 4th-round guy. Watch out for those guys because there is a reason they were highly regarded in the first place. It's like Donovan Peoples-Jones was the number 1 prospect in college one year or out of high school one year. And, he goes to Michigan and they suck and they can't do anything with wide receivers. Okay, well, now he's in the NFL and he's playing well for a 6th-round pick in the NFL. So keep an eye on those guys. It's always nice to go back and look a few years ago. Hey, well, this guy was a top 10 prospect or top 10 recruit, or he's a 5-star recruit. Where are they now? Well, a lot of times they'll find themselves in the later rounds of the draft. Of course, there's the Stingleys of the world that are, or Derwin Jameses of the world that are like top 5 prospect or top 5 recruit and then top 5 prospect caliber and go in the 1st round. But I think Benito could be a fun dart throw in the 2nd round if you want a high upside guy. We touched on Jones, Karlaftis, Leal, Jabo. Dominique Robinson out of Miami of Ohio. He's fun. His film was interesting. Of course, a little bit of a lower level of competition, but I think he could. This is a week for guys like Mobile. This is another week for if you're a lower level competition. This is where you can say, "Hey, I'm actually athletically comparable to everyone else you're comparing me to." So, Dominique Robinson, I expect him to have a good week in Indianapolis. Shout out to Tagovailoa. Yeah. All right. Let's roll into the linebackers.
Now, there's two names right off the bat that we're just going to have to talk about. That'll be Devin Lloyd out of Utah. That'll be Nakobe Dean out of Georgia. Nakobe Dean, the one question, is his height enough?
Oh,
6 foot 225.
I think he's totally fine.
I think he's totally fine too, but teams will question that.
Idiots will question that. Like there are
ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Like there are people that told me that Myles Garrett wouldn't be good in the NFL. Okay, sure, whatever. But no, I don't see any concerns in Nakobe Dean's game. I think he's a top 10 prospect, obviously positional value at linebacker, but he's going to go in the middle of the first round, early 20s at the latest, and it's going to get an A from me. Devin Lloyd, same thing, maybe a little bit lower in the first round though, maybe like 15 to 27.
Love. Did I mention that I love Devin Lloyd?
Yes, I think you have. There's a lot to like about Devin Lloyd. He's a leader. He checks off every intangible box. There's usually a stark learning curve, linebacker college to the NFL. I think Devin Lloyd's going to cut that in half. Obviously, there's still a bit of a learning curve, but I think hot take.
Oh boy.
By 2024, he will be the best linebacker named Devin.
All right.
Over Devin Bush, over Devin White. I can't think of any other Devins, but those guys both went top 10. The Steelers traded up for Devin Bush. Devin White everyone loves Devin White except me, apparently. I think Devin Lloyd is going to be, he has a brain that's important to play the linebacker position. I'll say that. All right. Tell me about Leo Chenal. I've heard some people like PFF loves him. I've heard sneaking into the end of the first round.
I don't love Leo Chenal as much as PFF does.
Okay. Because I don't know. I haven't really found what I like about him. I think people are saying, oh, he could go at the end of the first. He's a perfect Lions pick at 32, or he could go early second. I'm like, I don't know. I don't see that when I watch him.
I love is Boye Mafe.
Yes. Physical specimen, good production at Minnesota. Lots of fun to watch. Flip on the film. If you want, there's some guys that if you watch them, you might fall asleep. There's other guys like Mafe that if you watch, you're sitting up, you are at attention, you are engaged. Also, I want to give a shout out to Nate Landman. He's do you know what country he's from?
No, I don't.
He is from Zimbabwe.
What?
Yeah, his father was a rugby player in Zimbabwe. So he was born in Zimbabwe, then moved to the States.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I searched up all 324 of these fools, I looked up every single one. I looked up their high school and their hometown. I had more people from Zimbabwe than Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, that's what you get for going to U of A.
Tell me about it. Hey, at least they're good at basketball.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, it's true. A guy like smaller school, DeMarco Jackson, he could be a fun day 2, early day 3 guy. Drake Jackson has some potential first round buzz. Both of us love Christian Harris. He was the best player in the national championship game.
Christian Harris. I would say Nakobe Dean was the best player in the national.
That's true. Okay, best Alabama player in the game. Let's see. Scroll up. Asamoah, Darian Beavers, also Troy Anderson. These 3 guys.
Chad Muma. There's one.
Yes, we'll touch on him. Anderson, Asamoah, Beavers. They're going to go round 3-ish, like between, I don't know, pick 65 and 100. I think there's a lot of linebackers that are very much a flavor thing. So it's hard to rank linebackers anyways, especially with how goofy of a position is in the NFL and how 1 year, other than Bobby Wagner, there's fluctuations in people. Like last year, Eric Kendricks was the second coming of Jesus as a cover player. This year was just kind of, Fred Warner had an unreal season in 2020. Then he's pretty good this year. Darius Leonard took a step down last year and then was awesome again this year. It's okay, now I look like an idiot for having him as my 101st best player in the NFL. So Chad Muma, I like a lot. He's going to get some more publicity because he was teammates with Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson was a really good linebacker for the AFC champion. Hate saying that, AFC champion Bengals.
Still feels weird to say.
Yeah, it does. It does. I don't like saying it. I hope I never have to say it again. I like him. He's a 3-down linebacker, solid in coverage, really a jack of all trades guy. I like him going downhill, like first, second down in coverage. Not maybe exactly what you want, but he's good enough. He's going to play all 3 downs. He's going to be a second, maybe early 3rd round guy in the NFL in the draft. He's a good player. I love me some Mountain West. We have Penny Sewell's brother. Yes, Nafai Sewell.
Yes. He's not the best Sewell that plays linebacker. Wait for Noah next year.
All right, will do. Channing Tindall, heard a lot of good things about him.
I like Darian Beavers out of Cincinnati quite a bit.
Yes. Brandon Smith, one of my friends told me Patrick Queen, but can tackle. I'm fascinated. I was fascinated by that, but there are very few athletes like Patrick Queen. All right. You wanted to touch on Darian Beavers?
I really liked what I saw out of him, and not only at Cincinnati, but at the Senior Bowl too. So good player. I think he could slot in as a really good rotational linebacker in the NFL. All
right. Love to hear it. Anyone else? Anyone else you want to touch on? Okay. Jermaine Johnson.
How could we forget about Jermaine Johnson?
Oh man, he had a freaky week down in Mobile. He had a couple clips.
I've seen him mock top 10.
I've seen him mock to the Ravens at 14, and I'm not like turned off by it. It's like, okay, that's fun. Would I rather a Jabo? Maybe, but okay, cool. I'm down. We touched on Lloyd and Mafe. I hate how the NFL has this outdated model that Devin Lloyd and Boye Mafe are ranked together or listed together, because
they're clearly not.
No. Or like DeMarco Jackson is like an off-ball linebacker, and Drake Jackson, Jermaine Johnson are pass rushers. It's like, I don't know about that one, Chief. Anyone else you want to touch on?
I think it's about it.
All right. Now we head to Nick Spano's favorite group, the DBs.
Secondary. And it's true that in terms of safeties, we'll get it out of the way. It's Kyle Hamilton. And everybody.
Yeah, it's Kyle Hamilton, and it's his world, and everyone else is just kind of here.
But so ask Kyle Hamilton. Once you get into cornerbacks, that's where it gets fun.
Yes.
And my CB1 is Sauce Gardner.
I agree. There's a stat with Sauce Gardner. Every corner has a down day. Every corner allows a touchdown here.
Except for Sauce Gardner.
Yep. We could not confirm this, but he is not allowed a touchdown since high school at the bare minimum. I can't look up his high school stats, but
confirm it.
He did not allow a touchdown in college. Don't know if he ever allowed one in high school. Maybe in like he was 8 years old in like a game like for Thanksgiving, like a brother or something scored a touchdown. Yeah, maybe he allowed a touchdown there, but it's really hard to do that. Like it's hard to go 6 weeks without allowing a touchdown. He did it his entire college career. Yes, I know it's Cincinnati. I don't care that it's Cincinnati. He could have been in the SEC and been the top corner in the SEC.
Hey, he did it against Alabama in the championship.
Yes, he did. So I think he's an exceptional player. Maybe you don't have the physical upside of Derek Stingley, but the play is there, and he didn't suck for 2 years and have all the injuries that Stingley did. Maybe Stingley didn't suck, but he wasn't as good as 2019 Stingley.
So who's your CB2?
This is a conversation. I think Stingley's in this conversation. Booth is in this conversation.
Stingley is not my CB2.
Okay.
Booth is not my CB2 either.
McDuffie's in this conversation. I love Kyler Gordon too. I think he's a top 6 corner. There's a lot of corners I'd like in this class. Also the name Hall of Fame, Quinterio Cole. Just absolute banger of a name.
That is a banger of a name.
Also Kobe Bryant, 4th round pick ish.
Could be a very good 4th round pick.
Yes. Khair Elam could be a 1st rounder. We touched on Andrew Booth, could be a 1st rounder. There's Sauce Gardner.
Roger McCreary could be a 1st rounder.
Love McCreary. I think he's almost like the Aidan Hutchinson of that. He's just going to be super consistent, and he may not be like all pro, but he's going to be like the 15th best cornerback in the league. I don't know. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. He'll always be there.
Yeah. Jalen Petrie, if you count him as a corner, is a lot of fun. He's more of like a
safety.
nickel-y guy, could play safety. So he's either going to be slot corner, play safety for you. There's Stingley. Sam Webb, I believe he was down in Mobile, yes?
Yes, he was.
And so is Joshua Williams out of Fayetteville State.
Another guy I really like is Verone McKinley out of Oregon. Oregon's been pumping out safeties as late, and they've been doing a really good job of it too.
Okay, one guy that I want to touch on, I watched, I think, every available like one-on-one, like wide receiver cornerback or wide receiver DB. Tariq Woolen is a freaky athlete. I think he's 6'5", 210, runs really smoothly. He's not the most polished in coverage, but one of the biggest strengths you can have as a corner, ask the Indianapolis Colts, is recovery speed. If you get beat, how do you work back to the football? How do you turn getting beat into a winning rep for you? Tariq Woolen, at least from the clips I saw from Mobile, all of the one-on-ones, Tariq Woolen is tremendous at that, and he should go. If he's your third-round pick or fourth-round pick, I think you're getting a really nice player.
I would agree.
Later than that. So,
and then anybody else?
We can touch on some safeties. Leon O'Neal. He's actually
pretty impressive.
Say again?
Leon O'Neal's been very impressive.
He's actually duplicated on PFF's list.
My boy from Illinois, Kirby Joseph.
I love Joseph. Second round guy, maybe early third. Ball hawk, tons of forced incompletions. He's a stud. Josh Jobe, fourth round guy. He's a corner out of Alabama, probably a fourth round guy out of Alabama. Marcus Jones is a lot of fun as well. Don't look at Houston. Look at Marcus Jones. Look at the film. It doesn't matter that he went to Houston. Same conference as Sauce Gardner. Dax Hill could go in the first round. I've seen him mocked in the top 10 before, though.
What?
Yes, I saw someone say Dak. I saw him mocked in top 10. And I'm like, man. I'd be happy if the Ravens got him top of the second round, like if they traded up a couple spots. And then I saw him go to like Denver at 8, and I'm like, or at 9. Like,
I like Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State.
Yes, love me some Brisker. There's Kyle Hamilton. There's Kyler Gordon. I am on the Kyler Gordon fan club, ladies and gentlemen.
He's going to impress.
Yes.
In some of the physical categories.
And Jaquan Brisker, fun guy to Penn State. Borderline first round pick, like a top 40 guy. Marquise Bell out of Florida A&M, fun small school guy to watch. I always so Jalen Armour Davis. I always tend to watch the hyphenated name guys. Tariq Castro Fields should be fun out of Penn State as well. I don't know. It just puts an alarm bell in my head. It's like, maybe I should watch this guy. It's like I don't know. Like Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie out of. Did he go to Tennessee State? Dominique.
Hold on.
Is it Tennessee State?
No,
Tennessee State.
He went to Tennessee State.
All right, that was totally Rin.
Is he still in the league?
No. He's been gone a while. He ran a 4.29. Holy Christmas!
Yeah.
He last played for the Washington Redacteds.
Commanders.
I'm going to call it. Well, he didn't play for the Commanders. He played for the Redacteds.
I actually prefer just calling them football team. I like.
Yeah, I do too. I like calling them the Redacteds, though. I like calling Cleveland the Cleveland Spiders. Washington gets the Redacteds. All right. So, any other DBs you want to touch on?
I think that's about it. Let's talk about Punk God.
Also, Delarian Turner Yell. That's a name and a half.
Yes, that is. Punt.
All right. The specialists go off.
Matt Ariza, the best punter we've seen as a draft eligible guy in forever. The dude's a machine. There's no way around it.
I saw some stats at San Diego State. So they were a really good team this year.
No, they were.
They had a horrendous offense. Horrific offense. Why were they winning games? Matt Ariza was just putting the other team in horrific field position. Week in, week out. I will pull up like the actual stats, but if you are talking like a field flipper, like a blue chip prospect, it is Matt Ariza. It's to me the top like 3 regardless of position prospects, are Hamilton, Ariza, and Linderbaum. But of course, they play punter.
Very different.
Yeah, punter, center, and safety.
And oh my gosh.
Oh.
Draft Matt Ariza. That's the best thing I can say. Draft Matt Ariza. You will not.
Do you know what his punting average was this year?
I think it was like 59, 60 yards a punt.
It was 51.2 average per punt, which is just incomprehensible. It is the first in the NCAA this year. He led the NCAA in punting yards. Keep in mind, this was for a San Diego State team that was ranked for a portion of the season, like lower tier, like 22 to 25. They went 12-2, finished 25th in the AP poll. Also, Brady Hoke is their head coach. I didn't realize that. They had an awful offense.
They were a generational punter. That's all you need to know.
Yep. They were, let me see. They were 78th in scoring, and they went 12-2.
My God.
That shouldn't happen. Also, they beat your Roadrunners in the
yes, they did.
Frisco Bowl. Rest in peace, Roadrunners.
Let's see. In terms of kickers, there's Andrew Mevis. Wait for his younger brother, Harrison. That's all I'm going to say. Harrison Mevis, the next Evan McPherson. I'll be as nice as that.
Okay. I had a question. I had a hypothetical. If you were drafting Justin Tucker and you knew he was going to be an all-pro caliber kicker 10 years in a row and make 91% of his kicks, where would you draft Justin Tucker in this draft?
Third round.
Ooh, really? Third round. Okay. I've heard some people say first round. Those tend to be Browns fans, but third round. Where would you draft Ariza?
Fourth. I would draft him in the fourth round. Okay. I love him that much.
Okay. Was the last punter drafted that high Mitch Wisnowski?
Yeah. He's still pretty good, right?
He's all right. It's hard to be with punters and special teamers in general. If you're like drafted and you're good, you should be good, right? But you think about it, Justin Tucker was undrafted. A lot of great punters were undrafted or really low late round picks. So when you get a Roberto Aguayo and you spend a second round pick on him, or you spend a first round pick on,
they did that.
Yeah, you spend a first round pick on Janikowski, they have to be that much better than what you can get on the streets. Like there are, like again, Justin Tucker is the most accurate kicker in NFL history, undrafted. And a lot of these really good punters are either super late round picks or undrafted. So that's the difficulty you run with when you're drafting.
Matt Ariza is generational.
Yes.
You draft Matt Ariza is a punter that is worth putting a card in for.
Agree. Would you draft any other special teamers?
No.
Okay.
Nobody else.
Right.
And again, I didn't have Evan McPherson on my draft board last year, and clearly that turned out pretty well. So
the funniest part is he's still probably the third best kicker in his division.
That's true.
It just happens that the best two kickers in the NFL probably are in that division. You can have the argument with Butker.
Tucker and who?
Boswell.
Boswell's not the second best kicker.
He is either the second or third most accurate kicker in the history of the sport. Yes. Chris Boswell is up. He is that man. He is that dude.
Boswell's that good? I've watched a lot of Chris Boswell. There's no way he's that accurate.
I think he's also perfect in the playoffs. He is fourth all time in field goal percentage.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. Number one is Tucker, the GOAT. Tucker's 91.1. Butker is 91 or 90.1, but he misses a bunch of extra points. Koo is 90. Then Boswell's 88.4. And he's like 99% on extra points, something like that.
I watch a lot of football. I had no idea.
He's every bit as like he's a legit. He's not Justin Tucker, but since he had that really bad year in 2018 that drags everything down, but it's 90.6, 84, 92.2, then 65.
When he slipped in Oakland.
Yeah. Then the last 3 years, he's been over 90%.
Holy smokes. I didn't realize he was that good.
Yeah, he's a beast. 92.3% in the last 3 years. The only guy better, I would imagine, is Tucker. Let's see Tucker. So,
my God, that's crazy.
Also, did you know this was the first season that Tucker led the NFL in field goal percentage?
No, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Every other year, there's like one random dude that was better, but he was always like number 2 or number 3. Like in 2016, he was 97.4%, and his only missed kick was blocked by one of the Patriots. Only miss of the season, and it's a block. It's like, really? Why does this happen? Yeah, Tucker is 93.7% the last 3 years, and Mr. Boswell is 92.7. So he is every bit. He's 90% of the kicker that Tucker is, which is saying a lot. And then Butker's up there as well. All right, I think that rounds us out.
All right. Well, if you have anything else, let me hear it. But until then,
yeah,
man, we've been going for an hour 20.
Yeah,
my God.
I was going to say, is this the longest you've been on a show? But then I remembered we did 2 football games.
I mean, I've just had midterms this week, so I'm like fading.
Oh, yeah, I feel it. I have a paper due in 5 hours.
Well, get to that.
Absolutely. So I'm going to get to that.
All right.
But I also have some trivia to do in a little bit. But
we will see you next week. But until then,
will.
hey, thanks for tuning in. And get to that paper. We'll see you from Indy.
Yeah, I will see you in Indy. We will have I think I have 2 more shows. I have one that I'm doing later tonight, trivia show. And then next Wednesday at the sports desk. And then after that, I'll be shuttling to Phoenix and flying over to Indianapolis.
I'll see you there. All right.
All right.
Have a good night, compadre.
Peace out.